Hey everyone, Wazoo here, and in this video we are going to take a look at using SSL certificates for WordPress with Docker. Yeah, the time has come. We're going to tackle this one, and then by the end of this, you'll be able to type in HTTPS along with your local domain name, and your WordPress website will come up like a charm. Yeah, I think this will be really great. In one of my previous videos, we took a look at setting up our own home lab Docker configuration, and so now it's time to take it up a notch. Just in case you're unfamiliar with them, an SSL certificate stands for Secure Sockets Layer, is an encryption-based internet security protocol. It basically sets up a reasonably secure handshake connection between the website and your browser on a specific domain. A key indicator that you're using SSL is that your browser URL begins with HTTPS and that the website you're visiting on has a lock icon, a visual indicator in most browsers today, actually just about all of them. Part of the encryption process relies on a certificate, which is kind of like a type of contract made between the website and a certificate signing authority. In other words, the website domain is explicitly tied to this certificate. For example, https www.foo.com and https website.foo.com both belong to the foo.com domain, but they will require two different contracts with the SSL authority. Back to our current setup, the first issue we currently have is that we're referencing our nginx website via localhost. Localhost port 8080 / the rest of it. This won't work with SSL. We can't generate our own certificate for the localhost domain. We need our own specific local domain. In the old days, in order to create a custom domain on your local machine, you needed to edit your host file. This is a special file that your networking devices use every time your browser makes a request to a website. But with the help of Docker, we no longer need to update this file. If we take a look here, I've opened up the host file on my local machine. You'll notice that the Docker desktop install adds a custom domain, host.docker.internal, as well as gateway.docker.internal, mapped to my current IP address, which is 10.0.0.200. So let's go ahead and try that out in our browser. Notice we get our site coming up properly. All right. So we already got part of the puzzle solved. Now we need to go through the process of adding SSL certificates and support within nginx. So the first thing we're going to do is shut down our Docker containers. Okay, and we're going to take a look at our nginx configuration. We're going to need to create our own custom nginx image file. So we are going to remove this line where we reference the Alpine image from within nginx, the nginx service. And instead, we're going to add our own custom build. So right underneath container name, add a new section build, and then add context dot, and then Dockerfile. And we'll reference .nginx Dockerfile. Okay, we're also going to make it easier for ourselves here, and we are going to reset our ports to expose port 80 instead of port 8080. And we're going to also add support for port 443, which is what SSL uses to communicate on that protocol, on the HTTPS protocol. And because we're creating our own Docker image, we're going to remove this volume entry here. And let's go ahead in our nginx folder. We'll create a new file called Dockerfile. Okay, so we're going to say from nginx latest. And we will copy the default.conf, so /nginx/default.conf into the image at /etc/nginx/conf.d. So the same path that we took from the docker-compose file, we're now doing it within the image itself. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create a little startup script for us, and basically just to show you that you can create your own scripts with the help of Docker and execute them during a Docker image build and run. So we're going to create a line called copy, and then /nginx /start.sh, and then we're going to copy that to the root of the image with /. Then on the next line, put in run, and then we want to change mod, so chmod +x /start.sh. So we want to copy the start.sh file into the root of the new image that we're creating, the new Docker image, and then we want to go ahead and change the permissions on this new file in order to give it execute permissions. And then at the last line, we'll have a command, and we'll run that start.sh script. So let's create that file now, start.sh. It will be really simple. So we're just going to begin it with a bang and /bin/bash. And we are going to create some console logging here. So echo nginx has started up. You can access, and then another echo line, http / and then host name. So we're going to be creating a environment variable, a new environment variable called host name. And then finally, we are going to start nginx. nginx /g daemon off. Okay, so we've got this set up. So now we need to create this new hostname environment variable. We're in our local.env file. So let's create a few lines at the top here, and let's put in hostname equals host.docker.internal. So basically, we're going to match the domain name that was in our hosts file. Back to our nginx docker compose file, let's remove this image line, and under environment, let's create a new key called environment, and then we'll call it hostname, and then we're looking for the hostname from the .env file. Okay, and we'll get rid of this. The rest looks okay. So far, so good, but there's one more update we need to do, and that is to take care of the nginx configuration. If you recall, we have a listen on port 80, and so now we just need to add in a listen to port 443 and make use of the SSL keyword. And then we're going to create a server underscore name, and we'll define it as $hostname, which we take from the environment variable. And then we're going to need to specify our SSL certificates. So we haven't generated them yet, but let's drop in the two lines that we'll need to add. So SSL underscore certificate and SSL underscore certificate underscore key. So we'll need to generate both a certificate and a key and then drop them in here. So how do we do that? We do that with the help of a open source tool called mkcert, mkcert. And so I'm on the GitHub here, but you'll see that it is packaged up and released for many different package managers for your platform. So for Mac OS, it's available on Brew or Mac ports. On Linux, it's available through Yum, Pacman, or apt install. And on Windows, it's available on Chocolatey or Scoop. Since I'm working on Windows currently, I am using Scoop. Okay, so I'm in our local folder now where our project is. You can see that we haven't updated much. So in the nginx folder, I am going to create our new certificates. So according to the documentation, the first thing you need to do, or the first and only time you need to do, is run mkcert-install. So I'm going to go ahead and run that now. Okay, and it's giving me a message that it's already installed because I've already installed it. But you'll have to do this first before you generate any certificates. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new folder in here called certs, C-E-R-T-S. And then within this certs folder, we are going to mkcert host.docker.internal. And that's all we need to type in. And you'll see that we've got two new files here, host.docker.internal-key and host.docker.internal.pem. So we've got both a private file and the key for that private certificate file. Let's go back to our default.conf and notice how we have the certs folder showing up in Visual Studio Code now. So for the certificate, we are going to be copying this within the nginx Docker image that we're creating. So the path we need to set up is not the same path that we have right here locally. We're going to be referencing /etc/nginx/certs/host.docker.internal.pem and end it with a semicolon. And then for the key file, it's going to be the same path. So /etc nginx certs host.docker.internal-key.pem. And so right after we copy over the default comp file, we are going to now copy the certs over. So copy /nginx/certs into /etc/nginx/certs. So copy our two certs into this Docker image, as well as copying the default configuration file, and then starting everything up. And then so we can update our start.sh to also add here or https://hostname. It's just a friendly little message reminding us of how we can reference our server. Okay, so back in our Docker command line, let's do docker-compose up --build again. And it will go through the process of now creating our brand new nginx image. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at our Docker desktop. And we'll go into our nginx container and we'll check the files tab. And we'll check the /etc/nginx folder. And you can see that we have the certs copied over right here, which is perfect. Okay. So now let's go back to our browser. And we're still on host.docker.internal. And remember how we changed it back to port 80. So let's update this now. So this should still work on port 80. Okay, which it does. And now let's go ahead and type in HTTPS before the domain host.docker.internal. And you can see that we've successfully connected. It looks like HTTPS is working and we can view our site information. I'm on the Brave browser, so it's going to look slightly different depending on the browser that you're using. But we can see here that we've got it recognizes that there's a certificate of host.docker.internal. The connection is secure and the certificate is valid. All good signs. So that's all I wanted to accomplish with this video. I hope you found it informative. I thought it was a lot of fun being able to set up your own local SSL custom domain. And you can easily transfer it between any machine that you're running Docker on without needing to modify the local host file on that machine. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below if you found it useful or if you ran into issues. Take care, everyone, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace. Hey, everyone. I thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, please subscribe to this channel. I'm also reading the Bible chapter by chapter over on my other channel, Bible Time with Wazoo. Hope to see you there.